Hey, what's happening, everybody? We've got Nicole Cramer in the house and myself, Jim Morris, today. And we are doing our weekly live together where we just jump on, we chat about how people are power, how people have changed our life, the opportunities we've seen, the experiences, whether it's mindset or it's someone pushing us to get better health or any of the above. And we want to just share that with you. We want to have a conversation with you today. So I'm excited to have Nicole with me as always, and to dive in around this concept of people are power.
Yeah, I'm always excited to chat with you. And I think, the real intention is like to open up somebody else's eyes through the stories that we share, what we share, to see that there's opportunities right in front of you in your life. And they quite often are just buried in the relationships or in the conversations that you have yet to have. And I think that's why we called it People Are Power, because anything that we do pretty usually can't be done on our own.
What do you mean? I can't solve the world's problems and accomplish my dreams solo?
If only, right? But yet not, because I think that's part of the joy in the journey, is doing it with people and being in connection with people as you're going through it. And, this is just coming through for me right now, but I don't remember if I told you before, but my mom and her sister own a condo in Hilton Head, and they recently redid the bathrooms. And obviously the bathroom renovation was the point of what they were doing. But when they told me the story about how it, caused some challenge, there was some infighting, right, with sister to sister, and brought them closer in many ways too. And as she shared the story with me about how redoing the bathrooms had really had an impact on their relationship, that's the point. It wasn't about redoing the bathrooms, right? It's never about building the business. It's about our relationship with ourselves that we get to evolve and grow in the process. And the business is, I think, what attracts us to want to do that. There's something exciting about, starting a business or growing a business, or having goals, whatever it is that you do in life. I think that's the appealing part that gets us moving in that direction. But I think it's always just about growth.
Always about growth. And I've heard you say this before too, like when you own a business, it's like you're just like a walking personal development every day, all day type of experience.
Starting a business is one giant personal development seminar.
Yep.
Every day. Every day. It's like, what's this edge? Ew, it feels uncomfortable in so many ways. And there's highs to it as well. And it's exciting. And just like any relationship, there's ups and downs. And yeah, one of my very first business coaches said that to me. She said, starting a business is actually just starting one giant personal development seminar.
I love it. It's so true. I mean, in my experience, it's been true.
Yeah.
And it's every day. To your point, it's like, okay, we're fumbling through this, we're learning this. Like, and there's stuff, like I was on a call earlier with a friend. People are power, right? So a friend checking in on me. We've been trying to connect. And I was telling her, like, the marketing company, Creative Vibe, we're having a challenge that I haven't had since 2019 in business. And it's funny and it's interesting because yes, I've had this experience before. Yes, I've learned, I've grown from it, but it's just different now. It's different timing, different season, different economy, right? And these challenges, they're bringing me back to having conversations around different skill sets and learning different things. And well, I can't do exactly what I did in 6 years ago in this situation. And it's a little bit different. It involves someone else a little bit different. So these things are popping up, but it's those people that I get to converse about this with. That person on the other end of the phone earlier that says, I feel you, like it's also fun, but it's also challenging too. And you got this, right? And those conversations, I feel like, are the ones that give me the power to keep moving through it, to keep challenging myself to grow and to ultimately do the right thing at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Right. And I think people allow me to understand different perspectives, different views, different avenues, things that I wouldn't even think of because I'm just Jim and I'm basing it off my experiences in my life and that experience in 2019. Right. But opening it up and having someone I can trust and talk about these things with, they gave different perspective on it. And I think I handled it well and it was well done. But that was only well done because of the scope of who I've talked to and who I got advisement from. And I think it's just something beautiful. So
I agree.
All back to that people are power.
Yeah, no, that's exactly. I had a similar conversation yesterday with a good friend, and um, he reached out. He's like, "Hey, do you want to connect?" And I was just kind of feeling challenged with certain things, and it was so amazing just to express how I felt and just be heard. I didn't need an answer. I didn't need a solution. It wasn't like, let's solve this, let's figure this out. And there was nothing solved by the end of the conversation. However, I felt lighter. I felt seen, and I felt like I wasn't carrying all of it in my own head the way I had been up to that point. So even just having a friend see me or feel into something intuitively and say, "Hey, you doing okay? You want to talk?" And I was like, "Yeah, I do want to talk." And sometimes just letting it go, releasing it so that I'm not the one carrying it all, or, whatever it is that we're going through. Sometimes we want a solution. Sometimes we want somebody to help us figure something out. And sometimes just being heard is where the power is.
Totally, totally. That
Yeah.
communication framework of, you know, do you want to be helped, heard, or hugged?
Yeah.
Right. And,
Yep.
you hear teachers saying that, and it's a framework that I've seen guidance counselors use.
Mhm.
And it's really comes down to those three things, right? Like, do you want me just to hear you out? Do you want to get emotional?
Mhm.
Right. And have empathy and sympathy and understand the difference, or do you want that practical conversation? For
Mhm.
me and my I fuck this up all the time. Like my marriage, right? I want to help, and I want to be practical and have a solution, and
Mhm.
sometimes Caitlin just wants to be hugged.
See, that's because you're a man. You guys always rush to let me fix it. You're fixers, right? Which rightly so. Like you want to, that's your version of help. And women are like, no, we just want to talk about it and give me a hug.
Yeah. But I've like in this case, it's super serious for me to understand that framework and the communication style, right? Because at the end of the day, it's like, this is my marriage that I could be like messing up. This is communication. But then you think about it on every level, and those smaller and even micro levels of day-to-day conversations, day-to-day interactions, something where you're not going to wake up with the person the next morning. You're not going to have breakfast with them. You're not going to have lunch, dinner. You're not going to talk to them about other challenges and wins and losses, right? And like, when you really think about it on those levels, for me, it blew my mind, because I was like, wow, I think I have great high levels of emotional intelligence, but I'm messing this up in a lot of ways, and I'm skipping over some of that stuff,
Mm-hmm.
right? And it's like, ooh, I don't even know the impact. I think it's okay, or it's cool, or I'm giving them what they want, but I could be completely wrong.
And isn't that interesting? I don't know if this is your experience with it, because both of us in our work revolves around connection with people, relationships, communication. I start to, when I have communication like that with somebody close in my life that isn't going well, I'm like, it kind of takes a hit on me and my ability to I'm like, wait, I've got to be able to figure this out. I teach people this. I work with people on this. Like, why can't I figure it out? But I think there's a lot to be said for the dynamic and different relationships that you have in your life and how that plays out. And I think just the fact that you're getting more intentional about it in certain ways, like how can I communicate better? That's the work, right?
That's the work.
That's the benefit, is like, oh, I'm willing to be intentional about this. I'm willing to improve how I'm communicating and how I show up for this person.
Totally.
And that's a beautiful thing.
Totally. It's when you're aware, you're aware.
Mhm. Yep.
And sometimes you're like, "Oh man, was I so not aware before?" But that's
Yep.
the beauty and growth, right?
Yep. Yeah.
Um,
And
Go
sorry,
ahead,
go
sorry.
ahead. No, I just was gonna say, and like there's times, I don't know, it's like, yeah, when you're aware and you're in it and you're saying something that you're like, why did I just say that? Why did I like this is such a stupid example, but it came to my mind when you were talking about that. And it's not with somebody that I know personally, but long story short, I was on a walk with Cassie. It was really hot in Nashville. This was a couple weeks ago. And she just sat down. She wouldn't go any further. And so this woman came out of her house. She saw me sitting in her front yard. Like, who's this weirdo with a dog sitting in my front yard? She's like, does your dog want water? And I was like, oh, yeah, thank you so much. That's so nice of you. And so then I was kind of stuck there because Cassie wouldn't move. So I ended up talking to this woman and her husband, who are wonderful, nice people. And again, it's just such a stupid example, but they said something at one point about how they would love a dog, but they've got 3 kids and they've got a lot going on. And I was like, oh, well, you can rent my dog anytime you want. And I was like, what? You can rent my dog? What are you even talking about? You awkward weirdo. And then and I was just laughing to myself and I'm like, or not, or you can just have her. And then I'm like, no, oh God, no, just now you're giving away your dog, And so I was so aware that in that moment that I was being awkward. And I think, I don't know, I've reflected a lot on it since then because I've laughed about it when I've told people the story, like right now. But it doesn't matter how well we think we've done or what we think we know. Like there's always opportunity to get better and to improve. And in that moment, it wasn't like, it wasn't like the communication that was going to like sever anything major, but it was just funny to laugh at myself and go, wow, as much as I pride myself on my ability to communicate, you're coming across as a weirdo right now. Telling
You're
people they
human.
can't
You're
dog.
human,
I'm
Nicole.
human.
You're
There you
human.
go. I'm
Yeah.
human.
Yeah. Wait.
That's
We're not talking to AI right now, right? We're talking to a human. Okay. All right.
yes.
Just
Yes.
checking,
It's
just
it's
checking.
real. It's real. Like yes, that's exactly it.
But
So
what a great, like, I do think that's a great story. I do think that's a great share because no, first of all, no one's perfect. But second, like, what would you want in replacement to that, right? Like, obviously, maybe to not say something like that, like, oh, that's weird, because I know how much you love your dog. You would never rate your dog. You would never give your dog away. Like, you love Cassie, right? But the fact that you get to reflect on that, the fact that you get to laugh about it, the fact that you get to joke about it, like that's the human piece, right? What makes us all human. And I
yeah.
think it's beautiful. I think
Yeah.
it's special. And I think back to the people are power, back to humans, like so many people have had positive influence, negative influence, neutral influence. One of the things I wanted to ask you is there someone who's really just charged you up that really has given you power, someone that has just supported you maybe or believed in you? And like, is there anybody that comes to mind initially that you want to dive into or maybe share? And I know this can be very personal and very deep, so feel free to go where you need to go with it. But as I was thinking about the people or power, I'm like, I wonder who in Nicole's life really gave her that surge of power, who really has supported her in so many different ways. Does anybody come to mind?
How much time do we have?
All day. Let's go, baby. Let's
True
go.
story though. Yeah. No, I think in all honesty, I mean, one of the reasons that I just feel so connected to the work that you do and I think that there's so much alignment with how we show up in the world is that's that's the story of my life. It's always been people. It's always been somebody who believed in me or showed me an opportunity or showed me, it's like the 4 mile story, right? Where nobody could do it and everybody said it couldn't be done and all the doctors and the scientists, nobody can run a 4 minute mile. And then somebody did it and then all of a sudden everybody started doing it, right? And I think when I look back at my life, there's so many examples of that and where somebody showed me what was possible. And the story that I thought of when you said that is the way I left teaching and went into sales. And I had a lot of stories in my own head about why that couldn't be done. And after 15 years of a career, why I couldn't leave it and how silly that would be. And, all along, I was living at the beach in Southern California and I was a teacher. I had my summers off and I had a very good friend of mine who we grew up together in Ohio. But we're both living in Southern California. And he was always saying to me, you should be in sales. You should be in sales. You should be in sales. And I was like, I live at the beach and I have summers off. I'm good. Right. Like there was a little bit of the benefit of I'm cool. I like having this time. And then it got to a point where I knew it wasn't for me anymore. And I felt a little stuck. And
Ooh, that point, that turning point.
that turning point that like it's like I can't keep doing things the way that I've been doing them. And I know that because the universe, you and I've talked a lot about this. It was whispering and then it was tapping and then it was knocking and then it was just beating me over the head. Right. And it's like, okay. I can't, right. I can't do this. I don't know what I would do. I don't know where I would go. I don't know anything else that I would want to do. And, another friend around that time. So I didn't go to this friend. His name is Jared. I'm going to tag him in the comments and make sure he hears the whole story. He knows it. But I didn't go to him and say, hey, you've always said I should be in sales. Will you hire me? Didn't go to him. I had all those stories in my head that were telling me, you can't, you can't, you can't. Well, I happened to be playing volleyball one day on the beach with another friend. And when we walked off the court, he was like, have you ever thought about being in sales? And we had just won, and he'd never played volleyball with me before, right? So we're walking off of this game that we've just played where we won, and it was like a really tough game. He's like, have you ever thought about being in sales? And I was like, is he reading my mind? How would he know that that is going on in my head, right? Because I had a lot of friends that were in sales. It sounded cool. It sounded like, wow, it's a game. It's a game where I get to chase the carrot. Like that sounds cool, right? But you had to have experience. How could I get hired without experience? I had debt at the time. I had all these things going on that I was like, no, no, no. So when he looks at me and he says, have you ever thought about being in sales? I said, yeah. What makes you say that? Like, because where did that come from? I've never said it out loud, right? He said, because whatever I just saw in that volleyball game, you love to win. I said, I know. He said, that's what sales is all about. And I was like, oh, well, I don't know how I would do it. I don't have experience. And he said, if I got you an interview with my boss, would you go? And I was like, you would do that? He's like, I think you'd be great. Now, I also said something about not wanting to be sales. I was like, I don't want to be one of those salesy weirdos. And he's like, do you think I'm salesy? And I was like, well, no. And he's like, just go on the interview. I was like, okay. So I go on this interview. It went really well. In the meantime, I see Jared, the other friend who for years had been telling me to be in sales. And we're all at an Ohio State football game at the bar watching the game. And I go up to Jared and I'm like, hey, guess what? I interviewed for a sales job. Now, what I didn't tell you is the reason he wanted me to be in sales and always told me I should be in sales is he's a sales manager, right? I didn't make the connection for me. I just thought he'd be really proud. He's like a brother to me. So I run up to him. I'm like, guess what? I went on an interview for a sales job. He goes, what? And I was like, I thought you always said I should be in sales. I thought you'd be really proud of me right now. He's like, I don't want you to be in sales. I want you to work for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I was like, oh. And the other friend who all three of us were friends, he walks over. He's like, yeah, did she tell you? I got her an interview with my boss. And in that moment, and I think you've heard this story before, Jim, but in that moment, I remember it like it was yesterday. I was standing there and I've got Jared and Rob basically bickering, in a funny way with each other. They're like, do you have a cell phone package? Yeah. We do cell phones. We do car. Like they're comparing compensation packages. And what I realized in that moment, it was like an out of body experience. I'm like, they both think I can do this.
They're talking about you.
They're talking about me. They're comparing the packages, the compensation packages of their companies because they both want me to work for their companies. They think I can do this. And in that moment, something was born in my mind that made me go, oh my gosh, I think I can do this. And that was one of the many breadcrumbs on the path to me, getting hired. And what was really interesting, and one of the reasons that I know Jared made such a difference in my life is he saw it in me, way before, but he also knew me so well that even in that moment, he turned and he looked at me and he said, why don't you just come into the office and meet the team? And I was like, okay, because the other company he's like, they haven't hired you yet. Fine. The interview went great. Whatever. Why don't you come meet my team? I was like, okay, I'll come meet your team. So I go in, I meet the team, and he takes me to lunch with his friend. Didn't know that friend was the district manager. They interviewed me. Jared knew me well enough to just invite me and not tell me anything and not let on. And the lunch went great. I found out later it was an actual casual interview. And I'll skip all the rest of the details, but he fake interviewed me again, then with the VP of sales as well. Thank you, Sonny, for a wonderful conversation that I thought was just a conversation. And they ended up offering me the job. And I could have never done that on my own. Number one, I would have had to have the belief that I could do it. And then I would have had to have some level of experience or show that and the fact that somebody believed in me and was willing to open those doors for me and knew me well enough to open the doors in the way that they would work for me, right? By not telling me, because I kind of yelled at him after. I was like, you didn't tell me that lunch was with the district manager. He goes, I know, you did perfect.
But that was your natural self, right? And that's what he knew they would hire upon, not this not that you're not polished, but not this, I'm going in for an interview. Let me get myself in the square box that I need to be in.
I would have been the most awkward person. I would have probably told the interviewer that he could rent my dog. You know what I mean? I would have been all awkward and weird, and who knows how it would have played out. But instead, I just talked about Ohio State football and England because those two things happen to be current in my world. And yes.
Do you want to rent my dog?
Yeah. Do you want to rent my dog?
Will you hire me after?
That's my first sale. Yeah. Sell me this pen. No, rent me this dog. Okay.
Yeah. Oh my
Um,
gosh. What a great story. Not good. What a great story. But that's like hearing those details, hearing that situation, hearing those scenarios, like it was
mhm.
someone, not something. It
Yeah.
was repetition. It was someone who believed in you. It's someone who, if you didn't have a relationship, this story would sound like they undermined you or they set you up with these casual fake interviews, but they knew you so well. You developed such a great relationship
Yeah.
where they supercharged you, right? And that's what led to your success, a ton of your success, and kicked off your knowledge around sales. And they did it because they knew that they had an opportunity that you would crush, and that to me is powerful,
Yeah.
and it's
Yeah.
real and it's raw.
Yeah.
There's no baloney here. None of this is BS. And I think that's the beauty in this story is there's everybody has a story like this. We just sometimes forget, or we miss, or we don't reflect or rethink or recap some of those conversations, those scenarios, those stories. Like, and I think we're all guilty of it, right? Like there's been times where I'm like, "Oh, how'd you guys meet?" And someone's like, "Jim, you introduced us. Like you did that, you know?" And it's like, "Oh, wow, I totally forgot that."
Yeah.
Right. And it's like,
Yeah.
sometimes I'm just doing stuff and it's happening. Sometimes I'm reflecting, recapping it. Sometimes I remember, sometimes I don't. But it's that person. It's that
Yes.
thing that happens because of the person,
Yep.
you know?
It always
It's
comes back
beautiful.
to the people. Yeah. Yeah. And I think that that's just a testament to what this is really all about. It's it, there was a saying that I heard once. I was visiting some friends in Florida, and the guy worked. He was he's a veteran, and he was just talking about the work that they do with this organization, and it's called the Long Walk Home. And he said, more or less, I really believe we're all just walking each other home.
Ooh.
I think that's what we're all here to do is, just
Ooh. Goosebump moment. Woo.
help each other out and walk each other home.
It's
So
it's one of those things where we all need someone to walk us home sometimes. We all
yeah,
need someone to step in and to care for us. Like you
yep,
said, feel heard, feel seen, feel valued.
yep,
That level of vulnerability is huge. And
yep,
sometimes we don't get that, you
yep,
know?
yep,
So
exactly. Well, and I know you've had a lot of experience. I mean, this is why the platform is what it is for you, is like people have been there in so many ways and haven't been in so many ways. I think that's another gift too, right? Sometimes when people haven't been there for us, it opens up doors in other ways that maybe we wouldn't have realized and might not feel like a gift at the time, but sometimes those have been some of the best experiences in the long run when somebody wasn't there for us, in a certain way.
totally, totally. It's I've learned more and more as I've progressed in my life to understand that people can be part of your life for seasons. People
Mhm.
not being part of your life can equate to how you react, how you move through different seasons, how you look at things in the future, in the past. Like it's all a beautiful ball of chaos. And relationships are sticky, relationships can be icky, relationships can be glorious. You get all of it, but you've
All of
got to play the game. You've got to
it. Yep.
play the game, and you can't back out of the game, and you got to focus on it. And
Mhm.
I think that's just the beautiful lesson that I've had to learn time in and time out, and leverage it to great things and mess it up, and all the things in between.
Yeah. Yeah. It's all gonna be there. The ups, downs, and the all arounds for sure.
Um, well, thanks for jumping on today. I'm excited to continue to do this. I'm excited to jump in next week as well. So everybody listening and everybody out there in this thing we call social media and Facebook and LinkedIn, feel free to tune in next week. I will be on the road, so I won't be in this studio. But we still want to do it. We still want to talk about people or power. We still want to share ideas. we want to bring it to you real and raw. So you'll see me probably in a car, maybe at a gas station. I'll be commuting down to Key West with a close friend
For
of
a huge
mine.
speaking event. Don't let them leave that part out. Tell us where you're going.
Yeah, we're going down to Key West for Summer Success Summit. A friend of mine, Brock Zivan, he's put together this amazing 2.5-day experience. So I get to do that with a close friend of mine. So I'm gonna be all over the East Coast, and then back to Ohio, and then back to Nashville. So we got a lot going on. I'm excited. I'm excited to talk more about this stuff, right? People are power, how to humanize our marketing, how to show up and be relatable and inspire and motivate, but also still run a business, leverage the tool, and sell products. So that's kind of what we're going to be doing. And I'm fired up, and we'll be bringing it on the road next week for me. So
actually, I'll be not on the road, but I'll be with one of our other amazing friends, Robert. We're going to be recording some stuff in his studio. So that's where I'll be next week. So again, demonstrating people are power, right?
Let's go. I love Robert. What a great guy. What a great guy.
Yeah. Talk about opening doors and just creating opportunities and believing in people. He's amazing. So
there's something special about Robert where he allows me to open up on a level that you and I talk about, like when we went on our walk, same thing. But there's not many people in my life where I can do that. And he's definitely one of those folks.
Definitely.
So just another reason why people are power.
Exactly. Awesome.
All right, y'all. We'll see you next week, 1 p.m. Central, next Wednesday.
Bye, everybody.
Take care.